What is going on, gamers? Aevatrex here, and today I am going to be speaking about a few different heroes that I believe in Guild Wars can be very useful, and a lot of people might overlook them. And I have been shown videos and different footage of these heroes actually being very powerful in Guild Wars, so I figured I'll share it with you guys because maybe this is a viable option for you. Now, I myself don't use these heroes personally because I already have a pretty strong team, and there's no need for me to get these heroes up. But of course, I know that not everybody has the same type of heroes that I do, so let's go ahead and take a quick look at the first one that I'm going to be talking about, and that is going to be Grizzly Reaper. Now, I know that this is one of the older heroes in the game, but Grizzly Reaper can still be very powerful because his proc is a global proc. It targets only heroes unless they have troops in the base, but which, you know, if they have troops, and that pretty much just makes the base even easier at this point. But what you want to do with Reaper is you want to have him double evolved. Now keep in mind that Grizzly Reaper is a shard hero. So what does that mean? So that means is that for every dupe that you might not have of Grizzly Reaper, you don't have to pay 20,000 shards for a duplicate. Let me go ahead and show you guys. Let me see here, Reaper, there we go. So to evolve him once, assuming that you have no Reaper whatsoever, okay, it's going to be 7,000 shards. Okay, now to double evolve the Reaper after that, it would only be 21,000 shards. So in total, you're looking at around 28,000 shards in total to evolve and double evolve a Grizzly Reaper. Now I know that a lot of people might already have a few Reapers, because I know a lot of accounts that are totally free to play and they already have like 2 or 3 different Reapers, so you might not even need that many shards. So just keep that in mind. Grizzly Reaper is one of the cheaper legendaries to double evolve that is still very powerful in Guild Wars and can be very useful. A lot of times what you want to do with a Grizzly Reaper when you're going to be doing Guild Wars is to have a snipe team. So the most important heroes is usually Warlock, Ares, and Cupid for obvious reasons. They target heroes and do damage. But if you don't happen to have one of those, or maybe you do have one of those, or you have all of them, what you want to do then is add Grizzly Reaper to the mix. You can use either Life Drain on Reaper or a War God, and then you can also put him on the Blitz artifact. That way, if you run into stun towers, he is affected less by that, and he is able to keep procking and procking. He also doesn't have a cooldown, unlike Warlock and Ares and people like that, so that's also very useful. I've actually seen videos of him in Guild Wars, and it is actually very powerful, especially if that's the way that you do Guild Wars with your snipe team and you're focusing on a snipe type of theme. Then Grizzly Reaper is the hero for you. So don't sleep on Grizzly Reaper. Keep in mind that Grizzly Reaper is not the only one that has a very useful ability for Guild Wars. The next one that I'm going to be talking about now is not a shard hero. It is a gem only hero, so it might be a little rougher to work with this one, but the good thing is that this one you don't necessarily need to have double evolved, and that one is going to be Pixie. Now the reason Pixie is good for Guild Wars is because, first of all, she's going to remove buffs. So that means that Skull Knight's damage reduction and damage buff is going to go away once Pixie hits Skull Knight. Not only that, she does global damage directly to heroes. And added to all that, she also has a heal, so that is even better. Now the main use that you would have for a Pixie, especially if you're going to be using a snipe team, is once you're using a sniper team, there's usually a few heroes that are left. There's either Skull Knight, Golem, and Dread Drake, and mainly because of their high HP. But the main one that can cause you a lot of problems is obviously Skull Knight. Now the reason for that is, you know, he's the most OP hero in the game bar none. But once you run into that Skull Knight, what you can do is you can set Pixie out, maybe on a random building, have her proc, even though she only will target 3 heroes, there's usually only going to be 3 heroes left, so she's always going to hit the Skull Knight, and then that Skull Knight's proc is just going to go bye-bye and will automatically just instantly die, because Skull Knight really isn't that powerful until he procs. So very, very useful to keep a Pixie handy, and I've seen it in action, and it literally shuts down any sort of Skull Knight that's left, so keep that in mind. Another one that I do want to point out, and now this is a little far-fetched, but I have seen it work, and it actually does really, really well, and that is Pumpkin Duke. But, you know, obviously I'm pretty much stating the obvious, but there is a little wrinkle to this. Pumpkin Duke, the proc, the Celebrate ability, increases attack rate, and movement speed by a specific amount depending on the skill level. But the problem a lot of times, and the reason why people use Cupid over the Pumpkin Duke, is because Cupid is a flyer and it's not going to run directly into the base, whereas Pumpkin Duke will get to proc and then destroy the building and go inside the base. But if you keep a Pumpkin Duke at level 1 or even at just a low level and put his skill up, you can essentially put him in a high level building. Like for instance, let's see, my army camp out here has 80,000 HP. Do you know how long a Pumpkin Duke would have to stay there? A level 1 Pumpkin Duke would have to stay there and just proc before this army camp goes down? It's gonna be a lot. And by that time, any other heroes that I have would just be going hyper mode. And I've seen this in action with a level 1 Pumpkin Duke, and it is just absolutely crazy. Now, it is a little bit riskier because if something happens and you're already like at 60% or 70% and I don't know, a hero procs and then all your heroes die, then that might be problematic. So I don't necessarily think that this is the best idea, but I have seen it work, and it works very, very good, especially with like a Vlad that can just wipe out the middle of a base in one proc with all of those Pumpkin Duke procs. So keep those heroes in mind and keep those things in mind. Also, if you have a Trentar, he is also very, very good to have because he gives you a second chance. So Trentar, Pixie, Grizzly Reaper, a very low level Pumpkin Duke, and as always, do not forget to bring troops, because I have seen people lose at 97% and it's that one building in the outside that they weren't able to get to, and with just a few troops they would have cleared it. So keep those things in mind, guys. If you have your own tips and tricks, let me know in the comment section, and I'll see if I can if I can put a video up on that as well. But yeah, thank you guys for watching, and until later, bye.